In the world of buildings and architecture, green, sustainable are some of the key words that are buzzing today. But my guest for today has been talking about this for decades. He is, of course, renowned eco-architect and bioclimatic design expert Dato Dr Kenneth Yeang, who is, of course, a Merdeka Award recipient. My name is Syed Farradino Omar, and you're watching In Person. Okay, so we are here in the office of the man himself. It's, you know, like everybody else that we meet this month on In Person, recipients of the Merdeka Award, all of them cannot stop working, which is precisely why we're here in the offices of Tiara Hamzah and Yeang. And we are standing in front of the man himself, surrounded by his people. So, Dato Ken, thank you so much for making time for us.
Well, that's
I hope you're keeping well.
So far, so good.
Good, yes?
That's what my tailor says.
That's what your tailor says.
So far, so good.
It's good that you are taking advice from your tailor. That's brilliant. You know, when we talk about planning with buildings and cities, green that.
Yeah.
But you have had the root and core of your career since way back then.
Yeah.
How did you even begin to realize that green is not about tomorrow, but about when you first started even?
Okay. Well, first of all, you should bear in mind that green is only a transient thing, okay? Because my generation of architects were never taught to do green design. We had to learn how to do green design. Almost every architect firm today that you talk to say they do green design. Some to a greater extent than others, and some less greener, but they all say they do green design. But I contend that the next generation of architects will have green design in their curriculum. And green design will be part of their way of designing. And once that becomes second nature to them, then they can focus on the things that really matter, which is about making pleasurable spaces, enjoyable spaces, wonderful elevating spaces for people who use the buildings and the places that we design for them. So green design is just only a transient thing. Maybe in 10 years' time, you know, people do green design, do much better than we do it today, and be part of their way of designing. But I came into green design back in 1971 when it was part of my doctoral dissertation. 1971, I was appointed to be a research worker at the University of Cambridge to work at the Autonomous House Project. The Autonomous House Project is a project that was mooted by Buckminster Fuller, the idea of a house that could exist without being connected to the city's infrastructure and utilities. It was a challenging proposition, but I realized that after 6 months into the project that it's just about engineering. And I thought the real issues were about the environment, about ecology. And so I took leave from my supervisor, or from my boss, to say that that I would prefer to do research on green design, and that I would do a PhD in it. So that's when I started to work in this field. And so since 1971, I've been working in green design. And when I left Cambridge University, it became my life's agenda.
And it has been your life agenda from way back then until now. So over the years, you have created this portfolio of work, this volume of creations that come under the Ken Yeang identity. So what would you say are the hallmarks of a design that has your touch on it?
Well, a lot of people say that we just put vegetation in buildings.
I'm sure it's more than that.
Exactly. You know, we do much more than that. What we try to do is to try and integrate the human inorganic world with the natural world. So we try and see every development as a living system. And to make it into a living system, we have to look at ecology of location, look at the native species of location, look at the physical characteristics of the location, It's ecology, it's geology, it's physiology, it's hydrology and so forth, and try and bring back native species in that location. At the same time, we're trying to repair damaged ecosystems which have been devastated by human beings. So in this way, every project is seen as a total living system rather than just as a building. And so this is what differentiates what we do. This is our latest technique. We've been doing it for the last 2-3 years.
So when you initiate a project, do you begin with the core of the project, which is, if you're designing a building, do you begin with the building, or do you begin with the bigger picture first, the eco, the environment?
First, I said eco is just an added-on feature. More important is the client's requirements, what he's trying to achieve, what is the client's dreams, really. Architecture is very much about making dreams come true for the people who use it. And so our objective is to make buildings and spaces and places which are pleasurable for people. At the same time, we try to make it environmentally friendly, make it green. And so, the greenness is actually comes a part of the job rather than the primary focus of what we do.
Right, I see.
Then comes cost. Clients are very particular about cost. Like everything else, we all worry about cost. You wake up in the morning, you said, oh, I got, $20 in my pocket, I'm going to make the most of it, or I'm going to spend part of it on food, part of whatever. So in the same way, clients have a budget, and this budget is sacred to them. This has to be respected. And so we try and do whatever we do, our work and our design, and whatever buildings we do for clients to be within their budget. So that's the second thing.
I see. So with all those in mind, and again, reflecting on the body of work that you've done, and again, reflecting on the fact that you are indeed a Merdeka Award recipient, how has the past year been for you, and what does winning the award mean to you?
Well, in many ways, award is, to me, it's just it's like winning the lottery, you happens to you, it doesn't happen to you.
Yeah.
Some awards you like to have, but you don't get. And some awards you don't ask for, you get. So an award is essentially third-party recognition. That means, if I say to you, Dino, you're a wonderful guy, it's much better than you say to yourself, Dino, Dino, I'm a wonderful guy.
Right.
So somebody says that you're a wonderful guy, somebody recognizes what you do. So an award is essentially, for me, a third-party recognition. It's gratifying. Once you got it, you just move on, and use it as a springboard to do greater and better things.
Right, I see. Okay, well, we're going to leave it at that. We have to go for a very short break right now. But when we come back, Dato has said, once you win the award, then the next most logical thing to do is to move on.
Yes.
We want to find out what does moving on mean. So stay with us on In Person.
Dengan minat dan kemahiran sejak sekian lama, Ferrero menyempurnakan seni penciptaan coklat yang teristimewa. Warisan keemasan inilah melahirkan Ferrero Rocher. Suatu legasi yang menukar saat istimewa anda kepada saat-saat keemasan. Ferrero Rocher, warisan keemasan untuk saat-saat keemasan.
Astro AWANI presents CNBC's Managing Asia.
Welcome to Managing Asia. I'm Christine Tan.
Join Christine Tan as she gets up close and personal with Asia Pacific's CEOs, entrepreneurs, and other business leaders.
We don't like to take risks. There's no incentive from our shareholders to take risks.
Tune in to CNBC's Managing Asia every Thursday, 9:30 p.m. on Astro AWANI.
Okay, we're back on In Person, and we have more questions for Dato Ken Yeang here. Now, Dato, early on, before we went for a break earlier, we were talking about moving on, post the Merdeka Awards. But before we go forward, let's go backward again and talk about the tipping point. Whilst a lot of people out there want to be architects and find their conviction of being an architect and being a good architect, but again, you have added a fourth dimension to what you call your career path. Yeah.
Right.
So you mentioned that the autonomous house was the project that really kickstarted the whole thing. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
But what made you stay with the green theme, with the sustainability, the ecological importance of that factor in your work?
Well, the green agenda is really something I started doing in 1971. So once you start working on it and you've spent 3 years of intensive research and reading and writing, it's with you for the rest of your life. So it became the agenda for the rest of my life. But you know, at the end of the day, an architect is just a craftsman. A craftsman is somebody who likes to make things. And the purpose in life of every craftsman is to be master of his craft. So that means that we do the same thing again and again and again and again. And every time we do it a little bit better. You know, and that at the end of its useful life, master craftsman does everything wonderfully perfect. And that's what it's all about.
Right, I see.
So as an architect, you know, I don't mind doing the same thing again. And also doing a project, you know, another project after project. But every time we do a project, we're trying to do a little bit better than the last time. We try and, you know, not make the same mistakes again. And things that we like to be perfect, we want to make them perfect. And that, you know, the end object has to be beautiful, has to give pleasure to people, and has to be functional. At the same time, it has to be green. The green is basically one of the series of criteria that we use when we design, and that's about it.
It's as simple as that. It's as simple as making sure that that is always a consideration in every step of the way.
Yeah.
Right, I see.
Well, actually, you know, it's easier said than done.
Of course, yes.
But you know, being an architect it's not such an easy life. You know, you have to fight for the project. Then you have to fight for your design to be approved by the client. Then you fight for design to be approved by the authorities. Then you fight for design to be built properly by the contractor. And then hopefully the end of design and the end product will be pleasurable and useful and fulfill the client's requirements.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about partnership here, because great partnerships create magic. And this partnership that you have had has lasted for many, many years, and you've created quite a bucket of magic. Your partner, you've been working with Dr. Robert Hamzah for many, many years.
Oh yes.
Tell us about the secret of keeping this partnership a successful one. What's gel?
Well, the secret of a good partnership is trust. That means if you and I are partners, I don't have to know I don't have to know everything that you do all the time, and you don't have to know everything that I do all the time. Provided you will always know that whatever I do is for the benefit of both of us, and not for myself alone. And I also have to feel the same feeling about you, that everything that you do at any time and wherever you are will be for the benefit of both of us and not just yourself alone. And on that basic principle, it makes an ideal partnership. Once you've lost that trust, extremely difficult for the partnership to survive.
Now, what would you say is that X factor that your partner has that has made this relationship such a good symbiotic one?
Well, I think it has to do with, you know, first of all, trust, and then secondly, is, you know, basically a very nice man. You know?
Right.
I'm a nice man too, but so we're both nice men. You know. Having said that, we are heterogeneous.
What about style? Is there a particular style that you have that works well for this partnership, or that Dr. Robert has, in terms of, you know, when you do your work?
Well, at the end of the day, you know, style is very subjective. You know, what is, you know, it's like the way we dress, the way you dress, the way I dress. It's very different. Provided, you know, it looks, you know, like going to a dinner party. If people look, you know, respectable, look clean, and look presentable. That's about all there is.
Right. Again,
in terms of correlation. But on a personal basis, I'm trying to discover, I'm trying to find out what exactly is the green aesthetic. See, green building deserves its own style. Some people disagree with me, but and a lot of architects do buildings which look like buildings they've done, you can see anywhere in the world. They've been doing it for the last 20 years, and they say it's green. That can't be correct, that can't be right. A green building has to look green, has to say, that without shouting that I'm green. And that it has to be an aesthetic, and this is what makes it legible to the public. Legibility is extremely important in architecture.
Now, and whilst we're on the subject of buildings, you obviously have many buildings credited to your name with your touch on it. Some of the more iconic ones in KL itself would include the Guthrie Pavilion, as well as the Mesin Niaga, one of the earlier buildings that you worked on. So of all the projects that you have worked on, both in Malaysia and overseas, which would you say is the one you are proudest of the most?
Well, it's very difficult to say because each project is challenging, and each project we try to do it better than the last time. I suppose the most buildings and the project that we're most affectionate towards are our latest ones. That everything that we do right now, we try and push the box a little bit, design something new, try and explore a new factor in green design, basically expand the field, And to us, it's this challenge of discovery and invention, expansion, and pushing ideas forward. It's that gives us the thrill in what we do. Everything else is pretty mundane and boring. So 90% of what time is doing just pushing paper.
Right. So this goes hand in hand with what you told me earlier.
Yeah.
It's about making sure that the next project is better than the last, and there's a continuity there. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay. We have to go for another.
Not just that, but also make sure the next project is more inventive and innovative than the previous one.
Right. You add on. You constantly add on to it. Yeah. Okay. We have to go for another short break right now. But when we come back, we'll come back to the question about moving forward, moving on from the Merdeka Award. Stay with us. We're on in person.
Mau anak punya bapa aku mulia 70 anak 7 cucu 14 semua sudah tahu dia udah benar aku harap aku lihat ngau sudah kami dia tu 5 seritik berita. Ukai 14 ucu, udah 15.
Okay, time is flying. We are with Dato Dr Kenneth Yeang, and we are now going to talk about moving on. Moving on.
Yes.
In the first block, we mentioned that post Merdeka Awards, the most natural thing for you to do is to move on, and you have.
Yeah.
So what has moving on included for you in the agenda?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, what is very gratifying for me is that, and interestingly, in the last few years, it only happened in the last few years, that people come to me because they want a green building. Before then, they just want architecture as a service. For most business people, we're just a service industry. We're a commodity. That they buy and help them build whatever building they want to build. If it's a developer, they build to make money, and we make sure that we fulfill requirements, deliver on time, within budget, to the quality building that they want, and that's it. We all get paid. But now they want something else. They want to have a green building. And so this has happened in the last 3 years. But more than just that, they want to have a green building that looks signature, that looks sexy, that looks iconic. And so in composite, doing green buildings which fulfill the requirements, which gives excitement to people,
pleasure,
and it's also fulfills, which is beautiful to look at. So this has happened to me in the last 3 years. And so right now, if I could say, I'm having a time of my life. I'm doing exactly the work I want to do. I'm doing I'm working with the clients I like to work with. That's a wonderful feeling. But that's only part of what my life is about. The second thing is that I like to, all my life is about research and invention and innovation and pushing things forward. And so I continue to do research. You can see my room is littered with papers and books.
As we can see the room,
and I'm working on several books at the same time. In 2011 I wrote 3 books. I'm getting a slight sort of withdrawal symptoms right now about writing books. So I haven't done any writing for months. But I have a contract with the publisher Taylor & Francis, and I have to produce a manuscript before the end of the year. And so I'm back to researching and writing, and that's the second thing that I do. As they say, I do 4 things. They're called the 4 R's. The 3 conventional 3 R's is reading, writing, and arithmetic. Reading is what I do all the time. I'm a compulsive reader, and I read everything that's in front of me. Writing, as I said to you, I have to write. And arithmetic is I try and make some money. What is the 4th R? 4th R is architecture.
You can't use that, but he can because he is an architect. So in the spirit of research and ever embedding new knowledge into oneself, yourself, if we look at trends, sustainability is the buzzword now. Everybody wants green, sustainability, sustainable buildings. Those are the sexy terms that we hear in marketing communication when we talk about buildings. And you have set the agenda since way back in 1971. So what would you say is going to be the buzzword, the sexy word of, say, the next 10, 15 years in terms of architecture?
Well, I think architecture is a terrible profession. It's we don't make as much money as we should for the hours and responsibilities that we have. I think the architect has to move on. Has to stop being a service. He has to add value to it. He has to move up the food chain, if you like. I think an architect should become an architect developer if you could, because most architects, have taught a lot of developers how to do the business of development, and yet they don't become a developer themselves. But if you're a developer, then you have greater control of what you do, greater control of what you design, and many times you know it better than most people because you've done it so many times before for other people. And so I think part of the future for the profession has to be greater control of what you do, become possibly an architect and developer at the same time. I don't think it's that difficult to be an architect developer. You have to understand the basic factors that's involved and make sure that all these balance out in the financial model, and to deliver it, keeping to the financial model and any other requirements that you have for the particular project. So that to me is maybe one way of looking at the future. And I think the architect profession is a terribly stressful profession.
I would imagine so.
First of all, it is cash flow driven. That means we have to do the work before we get paid. And of course, we always have to make decisions on how much time I put in a project out before you run out of cash. So it's very cash flow driven. That's the first thing that makes it very stressful. Second, it's very delivery intensive. Every day I have maybe half a dozen things that I have to deliver on time, whether it's write a tender report, get an approval, or make sure construction starts on time. And so delivery intensiveness makes it again very stressful. Then thirdly, the architect does multiple business functions at the same time. Now, let's say you're in the car business, the person who sells the car doesn't do the marketing, doesn't do the management, doesn't do the financial controls, doesn't do the production. Whereas, for is the motor car business, you have a factory to do it, or somebody designs it. Whereas an architect, every project's different. Every project you have to start anew, and you have to do the marketing to get a project. And when you get a project from a client, they expect you to do it. So I have to design it, I have to manage it, I have to show that I'm involved in it, and then I have to make sure I get paid. So you have to follow up with getting payments. Of course, you can have somebody to chase for payments for you, but at the end of the day, when you reach a certain point where where the money isn't coming in, then you have to sort of put a bit into yourself to do it. And so an architect has multiple management functions, multiple business functions, and that makes it very stressful as well.
Right.
And then finally, it's a long hours that come with it. You know, I look incredibly tired right now because I do something about, I'm over 60 and I still do about 14 hours a day of work, 24, 7 days a week. It's extremely stressful. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So, after having said all that,
yes,
I'm stressed listening to it. After having said all that, and being surrounded by all these books and the research, and we know that you're writing a book right now, on top of the 3 that you've done. I think this is one of them last year, Eco-Architecture, the work of Ken Yeang. What would you consider to be the next milestone for you?
Well, I think, as I mentioned earlier on, we just want to do everything that we do better. So everything that we've done in the past, we just want to do better and do better and better and better. The next milestone for me is to try to invent something. I always think that, if I had an ambition in life, is to become a bit like Edison, if you can. Invent a light bulb that will be eternally useful to human beings.
Yeah.
Or invent sliced bread or something like that. That will benefit human beings. That will be forever useful to them. And there's this utility, this inventiveness, and try and create something. I haven't done it yet. I've created new ideas and I've created new theories, if you like. But I haven't made something as useful as the light bulb.
Wow. Wow. Now that is what you call planning for an aspiration. Well, we can only wish you the very best of luck. When we have a good conversation, we always run out of time before we even get to the juicy bits. But for that, thank you so much for your time. We wish you the very best of luck. And when you do come across that light bulb moment, please do let us know. We'll be very happy to come and talk to you again. Well, that's it. Month of August is all about Merdeka Awards, and with my chat here with Dato Dr Kenneth Yeang, we've reached the end of our run. We hope you've enjoyed and been inspired by the show, and we hope to see you again soon. My name is Syed Farradino. You've been watching In Person, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.